guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and today I'm going to do a before you buy for Atelier Yumia, obviously without spoilers. I was gifted this game early by Koei Tecmo, so thank you Koei Tecmo. So before we get started, please hit that like button if you end up liking the video, and please subscribe if you're liking the content. I would appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alrighty, first question is, do you need to play past Atelier games to enjoy Atelier Yumia? Short answer is no. The longer version is, although the games in the series are organized into arcs and trilogies, Yumia itself is a new game that starts a new arc of the games for its series, which makes it a perfect starting point for newcomers. Now this game is coming out for all the platforms: PC, PlayStation 5/PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. But how do they run on certain consoles? I asked for a review copy for the PlayStation 5 because I knew fully well that the Switch version will probably chug really bad. Now you guys may not know this, but PC ports of Koei Tecmo games are notoriously disappointing. From what I played in the demo, the PC port is actually pretty good. I don't see any problems there. And judging by the clips on the Nintendo Switch version, yeah, it's looking pretty rough. The Switch can barely hold a stable frame rate, looking in at 20 FPS range for most of the time, which is a big yikes. The PS4, PS5, and Xbox are kind of hard to gauge, but as I'm playing the PS5 version, I really haven't had any real big frame rate drop issues. But as for me, I am happy that I decided to go with the PlayStation 5 version. And there's also a setting in the settings where you can switch it to performance or quality. Now we're finally getting into the actual game. So what is the story for Atelier Yumia? The game follows Yumia, a young alchemist living in the world where alchemy is forbidden, and the townspeople will tell you that a lot, to the point where she gets looked down upon for even practicing it. Like, she is a plague in this world. Side note, I want to fight anybody who talks bad about Yumia because that is my girl. Anyways, but overall, this story feels something different from past Atelier games, and I kind of like the tone. It's a bit more serious. Having lost her mother in an accident due to alchemy, she discovers her family's relation to it. So motivated to find what happened to her mother and the circumstances around it, she decides to join the LDAS research team. But the team of hers is really wary of Yumia because the whole alchemy thing. It's funny though because everyone's scared of her, but they kind of need her to progress their adventures. The story unfolds through various slice of life moments, but there's a little bit more at stake, which I honestly don't mind and I welcome. I can't wait to see how the story unfolds. It's honestly been a treat so far. Now this is still part of the story, but let's talk about the characters. Now there's a total of 6 controllable characters you can recruit throughout your adventure. First we have Yumia, the protagonist, who I mentioned before is an alchemist who wants to figure out what happened to her mother. She is very lovable, but you could tell that she's been alone for a while because sometimes she's kind of awkward. And I love how she knows alchemy is taboo and stuff, but she still does it. So in one way, she does care about what people think about her, but in another way, she doesn't care what people think about her. And while yes, she's trying to prove that alchemy is not taboo, she knows she's not going to change people's mind in an instant. Though there are times where I wish she go pick a fight because these people are rude. And then we have the Dieter siblings. Now these are the 2 characters you get immediately in the game. Now Victor is a more serious one, and he's very cold to Yumia because of the whole alchemy thing. So he's pretty skeptical at first. But Isa, on the other hand, is really fun and bubbly. She really welcomes Yumia from the start and even stands up for Yumia from time to time. Victor could go kick rocks for all I care. Oh, and they're both part of the Audacity research team. As of recording of this video, I haven't recruited any other party members, so I'm just gonna go through the other ones, but I won't go that much in depth. First is Rugtar, who is a seasoned adventurer of the Audacity research team. He is kind of a shady guy, one of those gray characters. And then there's Nina, who seems to be a lot of people's favorite character for reasons. She is a mercenary of the Audacity research team and is capable of conducting investigations. And finally we have Linja, which I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. She's actually a demi-human, kind of like a feline and a human mixed together. She seems to be a more shy and meek character. As of now, I only have 4 people in my party, soon to be 5, and I am loving it so much. This game, story-wise, is gonna be an adventure and I can't wait. Alrighty, let's talk about the alchemy. It is really different from previous Atelier games, but I will say the alchemy in this game is better learned through practice and not telling, so I'm going to explain it the best way I can. The mana is used for your alchemy, but not only that, this mana is said to contain the memories of previous dead people, kind of like how the live stream in Final Fantasy VII works. work. And that's where Yumia comes in, because for normal people, all that concentrated mana could get really dangerous, but alchemists could go and perform this little ritual that makes the mana disperse. Yumia has a ton of things that she could do, one of them being simple synthesis, which allows her to create certain things on the field. For example, medicine, toolkits, and you could also make bullets for her staff gun, which is the best. I love this staff gun thing. It is so handy. This is awesome because it means you don't have to go back to your atelier to make the stuff that you usually use the most on the field. However, the biggest changes happen to be back at your atelier. Synthesizing items has a whole new different gameplay loop. Instead of your cauldron, which I really want the cauldron back, but generally you don't need a cauldron this time to synthesize. Yumia manipulates the mana of a material to create a new one. But as always, you go gather materials throughout the field by harvesting, battling, and the handy new staff gun is really nice. Each item has its own certain quality and trait that can be used to make items better and better. But the biggest change is the resonance system, which is a new way of synthesizing items. Once you select an item and activate its necessary core, you will see that it generates an orbit around the core. These slots are where you can add items, and your whole goal is to capture as many surrounding mana in the core. Each item that you use has a resonant amount. The higher the resonance, the bigger the ring will be, therefore you capture more mana, which fills up the mana gauge in the bar below, which can have effects like the quality of an item. It's really hard to explain, and it's better in practice. It's more showing and not telling kind of vibe. I would say Yumia's synthesis mechanic is a bit tougher than Ryza so far, though there are guided synthesis where it tells you what items are the best and stuff like that. And there's also auto synthesizing, which does what the name implies. It automates the synthesizing. I don't recommend you do auto synthesizing, but it's there if you need it. And you can also save your synthesis. It's basically like you have a template that you like, well, you can save it so you can use it more. I personally like the synthesis system. I wish there was a cauldron. It just feels weird. I still have a lot of learning to do, but by the time I finish this game, I'm probably going to be a master at it. Now, the next point I want to touch is exploration, and that's what's been distracting me the most in my playthrough. There's a lot of different areas you could explore, and some of them might be like a mini dungeon where there are little puzzle mechanics you have to solve. There are also these little cube shrines, and they're called shrines of prayer, and you're gonna want to look out for them because they are really important, especially when it comes to exploring. You might also find a mana fountain too, where it's just a lot of mana coming out, and you could scan those to make a lot of different items. So overall, this game really heavily emphasized exploration, and honestly, that is my favorite part right now. That's what I'm mostly doing in my playthrough. I'm just exploring. But while exploring, you're bound to encounter enemies, and that's where the combat comes in. Personally, it's been weird. A good comparison would be Fairy Tail 2, which was made by Gus, and Ryza 3 mixed together. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet though. It's more action oriented than turn-based oriented, where you could fight alongside 3 of your party members, but you could only control 1 character at a time. But you can shift between characters if you want. Now, the battles themselves involves you tapping the face buttons to perform different skills that your character has. So the more stuff you unlock in the battle skill tree, you will get more skills. For example, I unlocked the friend attack, which basically lets you do a item attack with a friend. But that is a feature that you have to unlock first. There are certain ways you could go about a battle. First one being long range attack. You could combo them to deal more damage, and it's where the game gets really flashy. I love it. And there's also a dedicated dodge button as well. You could either block and move to the side, or you could just move and then block. And another helpful thing is that the enemies will indicate where they're going. You can see like the warning area on the floor, and then you have more than enough time to move. Everything is new. Typical to every Atelier game, items are very important. Having the right items is a game changer. From glance, the combat is mostly satisfying. I just feel like there's a bunch of kinks that need to be ironed out to really be a great combat mechanic like in Ryza. What we have is still good, but it could be great. Alrighty, now time for the base building. So with all this exploration, you're going to want to have a base that is home, but what's even better, having 3 or 4 bases to call home. I think the base building is alright. There's a lot of things I would love to see change because it could get really clunky at times, but the base building is still a pretty big aspect of the game. Using the resources you collect, you could create furniture, structures, roofs, workshop benches. Now, ateliers are a bit different because you have to have a atelier square, and that one's pretty big, so you can't just place that one willy-nilly. Like for my first base, I have it on the outside because it was too big for the inside. And there's probably a lot of things you have to unlock throughout the game, but there are choices. So if you're not that big into building, there are these things called blueprints, which basically gives you a default house to use. In the first area, I used a blueprint because I wasn't about to unleash the building mechanic on top of the alchemy mechanic and the combat mechanic. That's a lot of mechanics, but I did do some building, and from what I've seen, the UI is a bit simple. It could be better. Sometimes it's really vague, and I don't know if it's me, but I still don't know how to delete an item if I put it down. Editing Mandy here. I did figure out how to delete an item, so it was a me thing, but the UI didn't really make it easy. Here are some things that they need to add: a grid system, because you just see a big space that you have, but it's not split into a grid. It makes it really hard to place certain items in the right way. Editing Mandy here. I forgot to mention, the camera goes crazy when you're trying to work on something inside a building, so I hope they really patch that up. So overall, there's a lot of good things about the building mechanic, but if you're not into all that, there's blueprints and preset homes or houses that you could just plop right there. Alrighty, now for some miscellaneous stuff. Like clockwork, this is where I put all the points that I couldn't fit anywhere else. First things first, there's a bunch of editions for this game. You have the deluxe edition of the game, which that's the one I was given to by Koei Tecmo, and the ultimate deluxe edition. For the deluxe edition, you get costumes for all your characters. You also unlock an item called the Puni Badge, and while equipped, you increase the experience points gained by beating Puni type monsters by 50%. For the ultimate edition, you get a season pass of future DLCs, new recipes and blueprints, extra music to change the in-game background music, costumes for Yumia and the other characters, plus hair color sets. And then there's also the physical games. Now I'm buying Yumia physically for the Switch, mostly because all my previous Atelier games are for the Switch physically. And then there is the Ultra Deluxe physical edition, which you could only get on their website, and that brings the usual. You have the game, the box art, little acrylic standees, a poster, an art book, and a CD. Oh, and you get a little plushie of the keychain that Yumia has on her chain, which is pretty cute. I was gonna get it just for that, but then I snapped out of it. And even though I'm a diehard Atelier fan, I don't really find the need for the special physical edition, so I'm just getting the normal. So that is it for today's video. I'm really enjoying Atelier Yumia so far. It's been a blast, and I can't wait for you all to experience this game as well. If you love crafting, exploring, and just a really chill kind of vibe, you will love Atelier Yumia. And while the graphics and performance are a bit wobbly, I still think it's a really good game. Tell me in the comments if you have any questions. Are you getting the game? Are you not? Let me know all that. So with all that being said, please leave a like if you like this video, and if you like my content and would love to see more, then please consider subscribing. I would appreciate it. You can follow me on my socials in the description down below. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and as always, play a good game. Peace, peace.